Greetings from semi-sunny Dublin. My name's Graham and you're very welcome along to my kitchen, and I'm ably assisted by my wife behind the camera, Abla. Say hello, Abla.
Hi.
So Sheila has asked me to do a cook along, or part of the cook along with you. I know Sheila because we were students on our 3-month cookery course a year ago now. It's almost a year ago, Sheila, since we were sitting in a pub betting on horse races and drinking Guinness. Good times, but we'll have them again. We're in lockdown here, so we're all confined to the house, or at least 5k from the house. So what better way to enjoy or endure lockdown than baking? This recipe is Biddy's apple cake. It's in a recipe from the director of the course that we did, Linda Booth. It's in this book, From Linda's Table. I'm sure you can get it on Amazon if you so desire. This is called Biddy's apple cake, and a simpler recipe you could not come by, but the results are fantastic. What we have here is 275 grams of caster sugar. We have 137 grams of self-raising flour and 137 grams of ground almonds. I have some apples, 3 or 4 apples. I have 175 grams of butter, which I'm going to melt now in a minute. I have some flaked almonds here, and I have 4 beaten eggs. I've also a teaspoon and a half of baking powder and a little bit of flour, for which I will show you what that's for. I also have I think it's a 23 centimeter springform baking tin, which I have lined with parchment paper. I'm also going to, if you follow me over here to the sink, I'm going to put some flour in there. I've already greased the sides. Excuse the mess of the sink. So I'm just going to flour the edge, because what we will be making is a batter, and we don't want it to stick. So we've done all those bits. The flour is no longer required. We will need to melt the butter, so I'm going to get that on now on low heat. Messy business. Towel here. And while that's melting away, we'll get on with the other jobs. It's also it's good to get your ingredients out before you start cooking. All your amounts weighed out. It's called mise en place, French for everything in its place. So what we'll do first is we'll take a bowl. I'm going to take my flour, the dry ingredients. I'm going to take the ground almonds, the sugar, and the baking powder. Get rid of all this. And we're going to give it a whisk. Why? Well, we don't want it to clump. Ground almonds have a tendency to clump. We just want to get everything distributed very evenly for this batter. So simple, you're not going to believe it. I have my oven on at 160 degrees, just normal. In American language, that's, goodness, what is that? 325 Fahrenheit or so. And you'll notice I weighed out everything in grams. Much better to weigh out everything in grams, in my personal opinion. It's how it's done in professional kitchens. Even down to the eggs. It just, when baking, it just helps get everything just right to follow the recipe. So, mix that up, to which we're going to add, once it's melted, it's nearly there, the melted butter and the beaten eggs. Now these beaten eggs, I've just got into the habit lately of putting them through a fine mesh strainer. It takes out all the icky strands of white stuff that we don't really want to see in baking. It doesn't necessarily mean much for this recipe, but it just got into the habit that maybe you should do the same. So while that's happening, I'm going to show you what we're doing with our apples. I cut some apples up here already. I have them in some cold water with the juice of one lemon and the lemons cut in half. Why? Well, when you cut an apple or when you peel an apple, it'll go brown very quickly. But the citric acid... Now, it doesn't really matter how you cut your apple. You could be cutting into chunks or squares. I just like to slice it, you know, about a centimetre thick or so. Right, so in here I have, I think it's 3 or 4 apples. You kind of judge it yourself when the batter goes in, but I'll show you how that works. So that's in the water, waiting for us. Our butter should have melted, and it has. So we will pour that into the mix. I'll give that a little stir just to take a bit of heat off it, because we're going to be putting eggs in it now. Try and incorporate everything in there. Doesn't matter if it gets stuck in the whisk, it'll come out. So now we're going to add our eggs. It's 4 eggs. And we're going to bring that together into a batter. Might take a few minutes, but it will come together. And we'll keep that moving, and it will come together. It will incorporate. And you can feel through the whisk the grittiness of the sugar. It's caster sugar, so it's a little more refined than normal table sugar, but it's still gritty. It doesn't matter. It's going into a hot oven or a medium oven, so over the hour it will take to cook, that will melt out. But we just want to incorporate everything now. We don't need that whisk anymore. What we do need, however, is a spatula. So we'll move this out of the plate. And we have our tin. Out of the way. Now, so we have our lovely batter. Everything's been incorporated. Self-raising flour, don't forget, so there's going to be a rise. And there's also going to be a rise from the baking powder. So don't worry about it if it doesn't look too much. So we're going to put roughly 1/3 to 1/2 of the batter in our lined cake tin. We're going to get that moving to the edges. I'm sure you can see that. I'll put a little bit more in there. So, and now what we can do, clean tea towel, and we get all this lovely apple out, drain it off a little bit out of the lemon water, which water is preventing the apples from oxidizing, so they won't go brown. It doesn't really matter in this recipe, again, because it's going to be folded into the batter or layered into the batter, but you know, we want to practice good cooking skills. So I'll just show you how we do the apple. I'm just trimming off the end of it. I'm going to peel it now. Oops, get rid of this mess here. And then I'm just going to quarter the apple and core it. So 2 cuts, 1, preventing the apple from going brown or oxidizing. Now I've possibly done a little bit too much apple here, but we can judge it as we go along. It's called cooking. Now, we'll just dry those off a little bit. And now we have our beautiful apple, which I'm going to place in a layer across the batter, so that when we cut into the resulting cake, we'll have a lovely layer of apple. You don't have to be too precious about it. Some people would make a nice pattern, but it really is pointless because when you cut into it, you'll just see the apple. You won't see any patterns. I think we can get a bit more in there. What do you think, Ava?
Yeah, are they cooking apples?
No, they're not cooking apples actually. These are Golden Delicious apples I picked up from the shop up the road. And Golden Delicious I like Golden Delicious. They're very tart, so there's a tartness to them. So I think there's the Golden Delicious are here. You see those?
Yeah.
Lovely apples. Now, we've put the apple in. Why not put some more in, will we? Why not? Can't go wrong, can you? Now, clear that up. So, batter. We take the rest of the batter and we pour it over. It just has a look about it, doesn't it? That it's so rich and thick. But believe me, when we take it out of the oven, if it's cooked properly, if I've done my job correctly, that'll be light and fluffy. We just clear up as we go along, and then we just move that batter around, try and cover all the bits of apple. But look, it doesn't matter really if you don't cover it. Get it run to the sides. As I say, the batter is going to rise. You just kind of cover, possibly put a little bit too much apple in, but don't really matter. Right. Looks nice already, huh? Now, take some flaked almonds. And we just go over the top of the flaked almonds. Just adds a lovely little toasted nuttiness to it when it comes out of the oven. Don't have to be too precious about it. As you can see, bits of almond going everywhere. I think that's enough. So, what do we do now? We take it, we put it in our 160-degree oven. I'm going to cook this for about an hour, and when we stick a skewer to the center of it after an hour, if it comes out clean, it's done. So come back to me in an hour and we'll see what we have. See you soon. Right, that's time. Let's see what we got. It's been in for an hour. That's good. Should really have some oven gloves for this, but so it feels a bit soft to the touch. I'm going to just do the skewer. Now it's come out a little bit dirty. Not dirty, but a little bit, you know, some of the stuff is sticking. So we're going to give it a few more minutes. Back in the oven she goes. And I'm going to give it, say, another 5 minutes and see how we are then. By a quarter. It just shows you the versatility of the recipe itself. I might get Sheila to put up the two versions, the one for the 20 centimeter, one for the 23 in the show notes. But that's the reason. But you can do this in a square pan. You can do it in any sort of receptacle you like. The end result is basically going to be the same. But we're going to show you some plating ideas coming up when the cake comes out of the oven. See you in a few minutes. Right, I gave it a few more minutes in the oven. It's come out like this. I allowed it to cool for a few minutes before unboxing it, so to speak, from its cake pan. I've turned it onto a plate, and now for the moment of truth. First of all, I'm going to get some icing sugar, just a nice little touch. I think it looks really well. And then we're going to cut it open and give you some ideas for how we're going to present this. So, clean knife. What have we got here? Hopefully. Oh yes. I don't know, Abla, can you get that? How's it looking? Pretty nice. You can barely see the apple, but you can just see it now. So, what I would do would serve that with some, well, there's a number of ways you can do it. Let's say you've got friends coming over for a cup of tea, or something stronger maybe. You can whip this up, plate it up, bit of cream on top. What goes well with apples, almonds, little lick, bit of cinnamon. Nice. How good does that look? Do you want to taste it, Abba?
Yeah, well, now in a minute.
Here, I'll get you the fork. Now, I haven't invented smell-o-vision yet, but you can give me the verdict. I'll give this to you. Here you go. Well,
Yummy.
okay. That's for the friends. That's for your daily, comings and goings of people coming inside the house. Say you wanted to do a dinner party. This is a versatile recipe. You can do anything to it. Oh, by the way, I've made a salted caramel, and I've made a creme anglaise, or English custard, or plain custard, whatever name suits you, but it's very simple to do. A bit of technique involved, but I'm sure you can learn that. I have a cutter. Let's do this. I will cut out a circle like so. Looks messy, but trust me, it's going to look amazing. I'm going to get some caramel. Get that going around the plate. Lay that down. Oh my God, look at that. Does that look nice? If you wanted to get a bit arty, not like that. That's not art, that's a mess. But these things happen. That's what blue papers are made for. Clean it up. Clean that up. So what's a bit of custard. Very amateur. What the hell? How does that look?
Gorgeous.
Want a bite of this too?
In a minute, not now. I need my hands.
So, you can come back to me now. That's Biddy's apple cake. Versatile, simple, not much technique involved. You can throw it together with stuff you have in your pantry. Pretty much if you're baking all the time, you'll have these things anyway. Loved by all the family. Good for visitors. Good for the mother-in-law coming over. God help us. And just good for, in the kitchen when you're passing by, taking a little bit. And even the dog likes it. Typhy, you want some? Come over here. The dog is never far away when I'm baking. Give me the paw. Good lad. Now, so Sheila, thanks for giving me the opportunity to do this. I hope you watching have had a nice time, and we'll do the recipe and all the other recipes that Sheila's showing, and happy St. Patrick's Day. Goodbye from Dublin.